again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MRN Outloud. It's presented by MoneyLion and also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Got a big show on tap for you this week as we get set to go racing at Bristol Motor Speedway, Thunder Valley. But first, let me explain this. I had my rotator cuff fixed last week after the ban on elective surgery was lifted. I've been waiting more than a year to get that done, so for the next 6 weeks, I'll be in a sling. But you care more about what's on the show than this injury, so let's tell you about that. Tommy Joe Martins will be along from the Xfinity Series. He and his family-owned team, Martins Motorsports, are one of the teams that's in the middle of the pack and have struggled to compete with the big dogs. He was oh so close to getting that done at Charlotte before the crash destroyed what he says was his best car. We'll talk about that, preview Bristol, and he'll tell us how they get things done trying to compete with the giants of the sport. A little bit later on, Zane Smith from GMS Racing in the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series will be along. Last time you saw him also at Charlotte when he was in a whale of a battle with Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch as those two battled for the bounty in the Truck Series. Kyle Busch's streak came to an end at 7, but Zane Smith, the rookie, third in the standings, third in that race as they get set to go racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway next weekend. He'll tell us how he got his start and what he expects to see going forward. It's all ahead on this week's edition of MRN Out Loud. Stay with us.
Next time those engines roar, don't just get pumped up. Get 5% cash back with MoneyLion. Our members get 5% cash back on up to $2,000 in annual purchases of tickets to a NASCAR race from authorized ticket sellers. You'll also get 5% off any at-track purchases and all purchases on NASCAR.com. Just use your MoneyLion debit card and it couldn't be easier. Join the world's most powerful financial membership, MoneyLion. Here we roar.
Wherever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. You can count on Hercules Tires to have your back when times are tough, all while adding money to your pocket. The purchase of 4 qualifying Hercules Tires through May 31st, 2020 could get you up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Visit HerculesTire.com/spring rebate to learn more. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Time now for our financial crew chief segment where we discuss the upcoming race weekend. This time it'll be with Tommy Joe Martins from the Xfinity Series and Martins Motorsports. It's presented by MoneyLion, the world's most powerful financial membership. MoneyLion, here we roar. Tommy Joe Martins joins us now from his family team, Martins Motorsports. And, boy, Tommy, thanks for being on the show. We wanted to talk to you after seeing just a wicked crash. I wish it was better circumstances, but, man, you were so close to notching a top 10 finish, cruising along, and as best stories say, minding your own business when mayhem ensued. It's just got to be heartbreaking, but you have to be encouraged on the other hand that you have shown some speed and the team seems to be stepping up incrementally.
Yeah, I think if you had talked to me or anybody else on the team Monday night after all that happened, you would have gotten a very different quote than what you're getting right now. We were all just so disheartened, and I specifically took it really hard to be that close to getting my first ever top 10 in this sport and all the time and effort that's gone into it. And obviously doing it for my family's team and all that we've done to kind of stick around and the sponsors that we've got and everybody that's supported me for so long. It was just a lot to have kind of sitting on you. But for this team specifically, Martins Motorsports in 2020, we have really changed our expectations of what we should be doing as a team. What I would tell you at the beginning of the year, we would have thought, hey, top 25s, top 20s, that's a relatively good goal for us here as a new team coming into the Xfinity Series. And now to show potentially that we're a top 15, top 10 team on a mile-and-a-half racetrack like Charlotte. And at the time, that was really before a whole lot of chaos had broken out in the race. And we were one of the only 12 cars on the lead lap at the time. And that's like wow, that really just kind of changes the goalposts from where we thought we could be. And so I'm encouraged today. I think the team, we've all just had so much support from so many people reaching out and kind of trying to encourage us through a really tough time. And we're really just kind of looking forward to getting the monkey off our back. It's been a tough start to the year. Unfortunately, this is not the first time something bad's happened this year. We are like 31st in the points, and I feel we've been like 14th in true speed. And it's like eventually that's going to sort itself out. It's just right now, it's just been a tough start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk to drivers, they always say, well, at least we had the speed. It's not like we're just thrashing around and don't know what we're doing. We've got the speed. Sooner or later, just sheer odds would tell you things would start to turn around. I was looking at some of your social media, saw the pictures of the damage to the car, and you said it was the best one you had in the shop. Probably, what, a $75,000 loss? Is that right?
I think it's when I said 75,000 on the loss there, I'm also factoring in some other stuff. NASCAR does an awesome program in the Xfinity Series with a bonus to the teams that are in the top 30 in the points. And potentially, if we were to miss that for a few races because of the unfortunate event there, that would cost us money. Plus repairs. At the time, I was worried that it might have hurt the engine. We own our own engines, so that fall would come onto us. As of right now, it's hard for me to say exactly how bad that would be, but yeah, that was our primary mile-and-a-half car. We got that car from GMS last year with John Hunter Nemechek, and boy, we just love how that thing has taken off this year. The few times we've been able to run it at Las Vegas, we had a tremendous run going. We were 13th when we wound up having an oil line issue that burned it up. But it's been a top 15 car the times we've taken it out, and that was our best piece. And so to have it wrecked. Right now, we know it's a front and rear clip. We know the best case turnaround for that is going to be 6 weeks to get it going again. And when you've only got really 3 cars that are mile-and-a-half short track kind of cars in your shop, when you lose one of those 3 for that period of time, it's just going to be tough. We're going to have to kind of adapt and kind of work around the fact that we're down one here for a little bit.
Well, it's not just the car, it's the time, because compared to some of the other teams, you're a small family team. Give folks an idea who aren't as familiar with the inner workings of a race team, how what you guys do with the personnel you have is different than, say, some of the bigger teams like a Junior Motorsports, for example. I mean, it's not even apples and oranges.
Yeah, so a good perspective of this, and I was trying to explain this to one of our newer sponsors, Skyview Partners, and also Market Rebellion, that have been on the car the last few weeks. Some of my other partners, Diamond Gussett's been a longtime supporter of mine.
I have some of those, by the way. They're fantastic.
Hey, awesome. Good. Let's work the plugs in here while we can, right? So
yeah.
Like A&N Adjusters and Gilreath Farms Red Angus, they've supported me now for a few years as well. They kind of get it. But recently I've had this exact same talk with a couple of new sponsors to the sport and kind of explain the differences. And I think the easiest way to say it, I think it gets classified too often as money. Like, oh, well, more money, it's going to buy more speed. It's like, well, what are you buying for the money? I think you're buying people and you're buying resources and being able to expand your organization. So Martin's Motorsports, we have 4 full-time team members. And then we have about 8 people that are coming in on the weekends as part-time help to kind of fill out our roster, pit crew, spotter, hauler driver. Me, I am not full-time. I am a part-time employee for my own company. So like that gives you an idea there. Whereas let's just say a Junior Motorsports, they're going to have a shop crew that's full-time just in the shop. And they're going to have a kind of a road crew that's on the road. And they're going to have a pit crew that they're dealing with through Hendrick Motorsports or something like that. But basically, they've got more dedicated personnel to each aspect of the team, whereas we're so small that everybody's got to do a little bit of everything, and you're just not going to be as specialized. And then same thing with the cars and engines. They're going to be on a lease engine program where they're going to be getting basically a fresh motor almost every race. Well, we own our own motors, so it's a little older technology. We're going to run them 3 or 4 races before we kind of freshen them up again. Our cars, we're going to run them 6 or 8 times in a year, whereas over there, maybe at a bigger team, they might run a car 2 or 3 times a year, and that car is going to be specifically designed for just a few tracks. So they're just able to specialize a lot more, and with more personnel as well, they can cover a lot more ground a lot faster. So like you said, when it comes to wrecking a car, okay, well, they've got a fab shop, they're going to clip it, they're going to throw a body on it. That's basically completely not even something to worry about for the crew that's going to be there at the weekend, the next weekend afterwards. Whereas for my team, that's like an absolute mess where now they're having to take that car somewhere else to get it fixed. We can't do the fab work in shop. And it's logistically just a lot more on the plate of my guys. And that's not to say, because I just want to be really clear here. That's not to say that the guys at Junior Motorsports or something aren't working hard. They are.
Yeah, but they can throw a lot of bodies at the problem.
That's it. I just feel like for a small team, the sacrifices that these people are making, like Danny Johnson and the guys on my team, and really throughout the garage, the Xfinity Series, I think really more than any other series in NASCAR right now, is really a showcase of smaller operations. When you look at Johnny Davis, DGM Racing over there with Alex LeBay and Josh Williams and those guys. When you look at
Ryan C.,
BJ McLeod Motorsports, Ryan C., Jeremy Clements, you know, my team, it is really a conglomerate of a lot of teams that on any given day, SS Greenlight can go run in the top 15, top 10, you know, on the right day, but really are small teams that are trying to compete against Penske, Joe Gibbs, RCR. So there's a big jump there from that front little pack to kind of that mid, kind of filling out the rest of the field.
But don't you think there's something of an old school aspect of that appeals to people, and in terms of that's kind of the way the Cup Series used to be years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the Xfinity Series is the best field in NASCAR. I obviously I'm biased. I'm part of it, and I'm very blessed to be a part of it. But I think even as a fan, when you look at the way our cars handle, where it's more horsepower and less downforce, the bodies that NASCAR has put on these cars, the composite bodies, allow us to make impact with a wall or each other and bounce right back and keep on trucking. And that is awesome. I can tell you the lick that I had, we kind of started off talking about this wreck.
Yeah.
The lick that I had the other night, just for everybody watching here, this is like unbelievable. The hood from my car in that wreck the other night, and the people that haven't seen it, make sure you look it up. It looked like my car was basically 3 feet inside the safer barrier. It hit so hard and literally flung it in the air, all 4 tires. We're going to be able to use the hood again for the next race.
Wow.
That's how durable this body is, that we're like, oh, well, actually the left front doesn't look too bad. It's like, what? That's crazy. So this is really an incredible thing. And it's a cost saving thing for the team. So I think NASCAR has done a great job kind of putting us in a position as a small team where with the payout structure in Xfinity, with what Xfinity does for the series to help us, it allows for small teams to be around with more stability in our series. And I think that's why you've seen it kind of foster that. And why you've seen small organizations like BJ's team was a 1-car team that turned into a 2-car team, that's turned into a 3-car team. It's created an environment where they can be successful.
Don't get me wrong, not that the pandemic was a good thing in any respect, but with what it has done schedule-wise, no qualifying, no practice, has that in any way leveled the playing field for some of the smaller teams? Because they can't, it's harder for the bigger teams to kind of get to the track and engineer you to death, so to speak.
Yeah, I think really practice you to death more than anything else. So one of the biggest things from a budget standpoint for us as a small team is really tires. I mean, that's if I told you whatever our budget is, I can tell you right now, 50% of the budget is tires and engines.
Wow.
That's 50% of our budget as a team that's trying to compete. So when you start talking about practice time, most NASCAR race weekends before this happened, rookies, which a lot of rookies are on those bigger teams, they would get 3 sets of tires for 2 practices. And so they're just going to go make 150 laps at a track. They're basically going to run a whole race with that rookie. It's because it's a fresh engine anyway. They're not really worried about laps on it. And they're just going to go practice you to death and perfect everything that they did at the shop. And that's before they had, 7-post shake rig and wind tunnel time and all the other stuff that they're doing too. So then they're able to come to the track and really fine tune it. Whereas like a team like mine is looking at the bigger picture and going, look, yeah, we can spend the money on this set of tires for practice. And of course we would like to, but we think that's probably a better spend of our money to have that for the race. And so we're going to try to limit practice time and all that. So in a way, absolutely, it's helped us level the playing field. I know there's some teams out there like Martin's Motorsports. We bought a pull down rig. we kind of said, look, we have to have this to be competitive here. And so for us, we showed up to Darlington and Atlanta, and we felt like from a handling standpoint, not Atlanta, Charlotte this past weekend. We were right where we needed to be. Splitter height, handling, aero, our platform, we barely adjusted it during the race. So I think we're doing a tremendous job, and that's all credit to my crew. I think there's some teams where this is actually hurting them too, where maybe they didn't get the splitter set right. That's something they would be checking in practice. They don't have access to some of the stuff that we have. And they're going to go out there and just knock the splitter off the car the first 10 laps, cause a problem. That happened with a few cars in our race at Charlotte, some of the back of the field. I think the 52 car had a travel problem where they cut down a right rear tire, and now so your race is over 10 laps into it.
Right.
They would have noticed that in practice. So there's a line there. I personally am a big fan of this new layout of our schedule.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
you
with
would talk
you.
to a lot of the drivers and say, look, we don't need to practice this much.
Yeah.
I think really there's a combination there, Woody, where we could probably do something like a kind of like what we did with the open qualifying sessions, where it was like a timed thing where we say, okay, look, we're going to have one practice, but that's also qualifying, where it's like we're going to do pre-qualifying tech. We're going to impound the cars afterwards. 30 minutes, you guys can change the tires afterwards if you want to. Well, that creates a lot of parity where you go, okay, look, you can turn it into a practice session if you want to. Obviously, you're going to mock up and do a mock run. For the guys that are veterans like me that have been on the track before, we can mock up right off the bat. We got a perfect view of the track. We kind of know what to expect. Maybe a rookie's not going to turn the best time. Well, guess what? That's probably good. They probably don't need to be starting up front at a track they've never been to. So, there's probably I think there's a good combination there that could save us time at the track. And the time that we're at the track, that's money.
Yeah.
So if we can shorten our program to where those are one-day shows rather than two, that's going to be cost savings to the team. That's going to be cost savings to NASCAR from an operations standpoint. It's going to be better for everybody.
I think it's interesting that some of the things that have been talked about for years have now kind of been forced on the sport, maybe sooner than they wanted, but they're finding out, hey, this isn't so bad after all. Maybe we can make this work. Let's look ahead a little bit now as we go to Bristol. Concrete track, a short track. What are the variables that the lack of practice and qualifying will introduce at a track like that you haven't faced so far with this new schedule?
Well, for us, and track position being so critical at a small place like Bristol, where the front of the field is going to be just so fast and more than likely pretty experienced around there, and it being such a hard place to pass as the track rubbers up and changes grooves and everything that it's going to do. If we get a bad qualifying draw at Bristol, the leaders are back on you in 15 laps. Yeah. So it's gonna create a sense of urgency for a lot of us in the middle of the field that maybe you wouldn't normally see, simply because in qualifying that would kind of sort itself out. Whereas now it's going to be random. There's going to be a lot of parity inside of the field.
Yeah. And
the comers and goers in the first 50 laps of this race is going to be really almost like a dangerous level. Because I can say this, when we fired it off into the corner for the first time at Darlington, we had all been laid off for a little while. You could tell the people that had been to Darlington and a guy perfect example of this, Timmy Hill he got a pill draw right in front of me at Darlington.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Darlington 4 times. I knew what to expect going into turn 1, but I was still playing it pretty safe from a grip level standpoint.
Yeah.
Guy that qualified in front of me or got a pill draw right in front of me had never been there, ever. Rookie time, ever, nothing. Timmy goes into turn 1. He run the cup race Sunday. He goes in there wide open. Doesn't even look nothing. I'm I'm kind of tentative. The person in front of me is braking.
Yeah.
So you got 3 completely different things going on. And so I think about that when it comes to Bristol, because there's nowhere to go. You're so stacked on top of each other that's going to, if somebody goes into Bristol turn 1 and there's different stuff going on, it's there's not really anywhere to go. Yeah. And so that's going to create a really kind of a tough environment for the first little bit of this race.
What do you think about the various iterations of the track over the last several seasons where they've tried to grind this lane or put, the sticky substance down here and there? What do you like the best, and what do you think has worked the best over the years?
Yeah, it's tough for me to really comment on this from a perfect standpoint, because I don't think I really ever got to run old Bristol in the perfect version of it. Really, my first time there was 2014 in an Xfinity car, and I wrecked in practice like an idiot. And so that was basically it. So
You're not alone with that.
Look, not the first time. It won't be the last time in Bristol history. But that was me. So I didn't get to make a whole lot of laps on it before they really started doing a lot of this. Probably the most fun that I've ever had around Bristol is 2017 with BJ McLeod Motorsports. And that was at a time before PJ1 where really we were running the top a lot, and getting a feeling for that. I think, of course it becomes a one-lane track at that point, but it gave, and that's what they're trying to do with the PJ1 now, is create multiple lanes, multiple options. But that, it's so strange how it comes in, when it goes away, when to move. It creates a lot of like kind of confusion. That's probably good for the broadcast on television. For us, when we first get there and fire it off into the corner, we're just really kind of unsure what we're going to have from a grip standpoint. So that's the challenges there. And I really enjoy running the higher lane there when you get it working. The momentum and the sensation that you get around Bristol is unlike anywhere else we go.
Because it's not, people say it has to get some heat in it. They're not talking about heat of the sun. They mean friction, correct?
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Yeah. So when we go in there on a cold racetrack and fire it off down there on the bottom, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. After that, what do you think about the upcoming races? You've got the schedule planned out all the way through Talladega now, with a couple of homesteads in there, Atlanta, Martinsville. What do you think about some of those other tracks coming up for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's a really good stretch for us. I think our 1.5 mile program at Martin's Motorsports has been really good. The worn out 1.5 miles, I think they tend to favor a team like mine, where, maybe we aren't a top 10 equipment team, but I've been around here enough and I kind of know these tracks that maybe I can elevate us a little bit. Any track that's going to involve tire strategy and tire saving is going to be good for us. Now, there's going to be some teams in the field, Woody, as you know, they're going to be running on scuffed tires, and that, there's stuff going on. For Martin's Motorsports, that's such a factor for us, where we're going in, complemented tires, what we need to be up there. And that, I think, creates an opportunity for us from a strategy standpoint to maybe get that top 10 run like we were kind of in line to have at Charlotte. We saved our last set of tires hoping we were the only car one lap down there for a second. We said, well, if we get the lucky dog, we'll come in here, bolt these set of tires on. We'll probably have about 10 laps to go.
You'll be Superman. And
it worked to a charm. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, we're going to finish like 6th in this thing, even on a green, white checker, because we're going to have fresh tires.
Yeah.
Would have worked.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But that's the kind of stuff that's able to happen at these type of racetracks. And so we look at this like, okay, look, we can be top 15 on speed, and with a little strategy and a little luck, maybe at the end of one of these things, we bolt on tires, and you don't know. At a place like Homestead, at a place like Atlanta, if I'm on fresh tires and everybody's on old tires, it doesn't matter that I got a 15th place car. You're a winning car at that point. And so we're looking at this as a chance to be aggressive and maybe take a call on some strategy.
That's going to be fun to watch for sure. Let's end with this. I know you're taking a somewhat local sponsor to Bristol this weekend. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so Gilreath Farms Red Angus, that's a sponsor now that's been with me for a few years, even since the time I was over there at BJ McLeod Motorsports. Actually met the owner, Ken Gilreath, out of the racing school that I work at in Las Vegas. It's Ron Fellows Performance Driving School.
So wait, you're a professor of racing? Is that what you're telling me?
I have been now for a few years. That's the side gig over there too. So, but met him out there, great guy. Told me that he used to sponsor a car for Roush. And I said, well, if you want to sponsor another one, I'm your guy. And he was like, we might get into that. And so he became a local sponsor for me at Bristol with his companies, AAN Adjusters and Gilreath Farms Red Angus. And that turned into what is now a primary sponsorship for our race team this year. And so he's a great guy. It's really cool for us to get to come there. I hate that we can't have fans in the stands. I know that's something that everybody, I try not to be negative about this. I'm so glad we're getting to race. For him, it was big. This is like the home-based party thing. And so not being able to have that aspect of it, that's a bummer. But we're going to try to put on a good show for him, and I'll be able to see all those guys. Believe me, we're still going to have like a team dinner or something. Yeah. We're going to mix and mingle. I know we're going to do it safely here with COVID going on, but it's really important for us to show up to Bristol that's one that we have had highlighted for a long time here, Woody. When the schedule comes out, we're like, when's Bristol?
Yep.
We're getting red Angus on the car. Let's go see Ken. It's like circle that one with red ink.
It's going to be fun to watch for sure. Tommy, appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend at Bristol and for the remainder of what we know about the schedule so far and for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Woody.
There you go. Tommy Joe Martins from Martins Motorsports.
Next time those engines roar, don't just get pumped up. Get 5% cash back with MoneyLion. Our members get 5% cash back on up to $2,000 in annual purchases of tickets to a NASCAR race from authorized ticket sellers. You'll also get 5% off any at-track purchases and all purchases on NASCAR.com. Just use your MoneyLion debit card and it couldn't be easier. Join the world's most powerful financial membership, MoneyLion. Here we roar.
Wherever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. You can count on Hercules Tires to have your back when times are tough, all while adding money to your pocket. The purchase of 4 qualifying Hercules tires through May 31st, 2020 could get you up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Visit HerculesTire.com/spring rebate to learn more. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower. Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, I did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to MRN Outloud. We're joined now by Zane Smith from GMS Racing. Had a great show in the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series on Monday at Charlotte Motor Speedway, dueling with Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch as they had their whole Bounty Gate duel. But you weren't worried about that at all, man. You were up there putting on a whale of a show, giving Kyle Busch everything he wanted. Congratulations on a strong run, and I guess you're still kind of coming down from that, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I ended up third at the end of the day, which I did literally everything in my power to beat them too, but they have a couple more laps than me. But to lose to those two is a pretty good start, in my opinion, like I had said on my my social media. And yeah, I thought we did really good along with the rest of GMS Racing. I mean, we were good right off the truck, and it's just good momentum to have this early in the year.
It was a fantastic night for GMS for sure. Not only did Chase Elliott win the race, but I think at one time you guys were, 4 of the top 6 or 5 of the top 7, something crazy like that. It was just throw them out there and here we come, try and stop us if you can.
Yeah, I know. I had looked up at the board. I think it was like at stage 2, just in the middle of the race or something. And I'd seen it was 24-2, 21, 26, 23. All of us were right together. So that's a good sight to see.
Tell me a little about your path to get to this point. You've run some ARCA, you've run some cars, you've run some Legends, you've run a bunch of different stuff. You're in the Driver's Edge development program now, but how did Zane Smith wind up in this truck at GMS?
Yeah, so I really don't know how. I had actually started on a BMX bike when I was about 2 or 3 years old. Never started the training wheels. I started really young, and I raced those all around the country. And then, so a little backstory is my dad, actually, he is a manager of an off-road race team. And so he worked his way up with cleaning bathrooms, fabricating, to running a fab shop for Tierworks Motorsports. And so that kind of, I've always been involved in racing, so that's always been my my background.
You were probably around it before you could talk, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I was just I've always been around it. Never really wanted to do anything else. So so then after BMX bikes, I got into a trophy cart, which is pretty much a mini trophy truck, and then we ran those a little bit, and I wanted to pretty much just go short course racing. Hopefully, like one day race a Pro 2 or a Pro 4, and that was the dream then. But I really didn't know that you can't make a living out of it, and it's more of a hobby. So
that was the least of your worries then, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was just there to have fun, really, and go win. But my dad got me a go-kart when I was 6 or 7 years old. I want to say 7, but then I ran those for a while. Not really the go-karts that they run out here so much. The road course ones is what I ran. And we ran those all across the country, and those were some of the best memories I had growing up. And so basically then I was wanting to I feel like I was so set on like IndyCar, but I feel like that kind of comes with those kind of karts. But then I was also watching NASCAR at that time as well. And then
who'd you follow coming up?
For sure, Jimmy Johnson. My dad and Jimmy's dad are friends through the off-road racing, and so we just had a similar background, and so I feel like that just kind of gave me sort of a in to watch right there. So I wasn't like super set on it. I would watch it when it was on, and I mean I like followed Jimmy and like Tony Stewart, all like the big guys, but was not like just a hardcore fan. But as soon as I got a legend car, which was the next step after a go-kart, I was like constantly watching it and following it. But that's because I was racing on ovals all the time now. So it was a lot different. I had a ton of fun racing those all across the United States. First, it was only on the West Coast. And then we made our transition to the East Coast, and then that's where it kind of all changed, and we got into super late models, and then ran like a handful of ARCA races one year, and then the following year ran full-time in ARCA, and then got an opportunity in a truck that year when I was running full-time. Super last-minute deal. It was like we had to race Friday at Gateway, and I found out I was racing like Wednesday night, and like didn't have my NASCAR license, like no drug test, no physical, like nothing. And so we thrashed for one day, made it happen, got my seat mounted. And the funny story was with Bono, who is my crew chief now.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how it all works out.
Well, that's a heck of a race just to get all that stuff done so you could make that first race, wasn't it? I mean, my goodness.
Oh, you can only imagine.
Well, before everything got locked down, tell me about where you thought you guys were. Obviously, you ran very well the other night at Charlotte. You're third in the standings, the leading rookie. But before everything got postponed, how did you feel like you guys were coming together?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just personally work really good with Bono, along with the rest of my team. I mean, since we had our year kickoff lunch, I mean, I kind of liked my guys, and I kind of the GMS Racing had pieced my team together, and I requested a couple guys just from Marty Lindley, who is my crew chief in ARCA, which is over at GMS now, and his opinion would be some good guys that he thought would work with me, and so we were able to make that happen, and so I mean, Daytona is Daytona. I had a shot at it, which is all you can ask for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wanted to play it safe, because just watching back, they never make it without a caution. So I played it safe. Unfortunately, I didn't get any stage points, which hurt us, because I think we'd be really good in points right now. And then,
hey, third is not bad, and you brought home a whole truck, so that's nothing to sneeze at.
Right, exactly. But first would be a lot cooler.
Yeah, that's true. But you got time.
So, yeah. But I was just before I knew it, we were coming to the white, or I think it's like 5 to go, and I'm like up front, and I think a caution came out with, it was like a green, white, checkered, and I had gotten a big run, and my spotter even told me, don't use it, like wait, because we were coming to the white. And rookie myself, I thought that was time to use it, and it was such a big run, I couldn't wait. And so
it's like waving a steak in front of a dog, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I was basically like, screw it, I gotta do it. And so I rolled to the top, got by Ross, and like got a little bit in front of Grant, but my idea was just to form another line and get a train behind me. But I had damage from pretty early in the race. It was a wreck in 3 and 4, and I had checked up because I was way back there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm almost stopped, and someone ran right into me. So that's the problem with Daytona, whether you're at the very front, middle, very back, there's no safe place. So I probably should have just listened to my spotter for sure, just waited to the next lap to do that, because then it would have came down to the line. But knowing who was in front of me, Grant and Ross, those are two of the hardest to pass. They race you really hard, and I love it, but it probably would have gotten a little sketchy coming to the line. But
lesson learned, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now I know. Hopefully I get another truck race or two on a speedway, so I can use that move again, and hopefully I'm in that situation. But yeah, Daytona's Daytona.
Well, speaking of next races, you guys come back at Atlanta, which was originally scheduled to be a doubleheader with the Xfinity Series before everything got shut down. What are your expectations going back there? A very rough track, a 1.5 mile style track, even though it's kind of a unique circuit unto itself. What are you looking for at Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm stoked for Atlanta. I think I'll have a little bit of an upper hand there, because we had gotten to do my rookie test there. I've never raced there, but I mean, the test, especially with this whole deal going on, is in my opinion, a big upper hand. And so, I mean, I really like that place at the test. I'm not sure if GMS has ever won there, but I think they run pretty well there. And I think Bono will bring a lot to the table. He ran good there with DGR as well. So we figured out a few things at the test. But I just need to pretty much do what I did at Charlotte, was just be aggressive on restarts and just keep my momentum up. That's what truck racing is never breaking up your momentum. And it makes for a lot easier of a night.
Do you know who's going to be on the truck at Atlanta yet?
It'll be the same truck I had at Charlotte, La Paz Margarita Mix. They were stoked with our night, and I can imagine they got a lot of media exposure, because I think at one point I was number 8 on trending on there, and I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah. They're back, and so hopefully we can turn that truck into an iconic one.
All right. Well, cool deal. Zane, we want to thank you for your time. Congratulations on a fine start to the year. Look forward to seeing you run again and give them what for at Atlanta.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on it.
Here you go, Zane Smith from GMS Racing. Look for him at GMS in Atlanta as the Truck Series comes back to action. That's all the time we've got on this week's edition of MRN Out Loud. I'm Woody Cain. We'll see you next week.